Ink-a-dink, 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 ink-a-dink. Wow!
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, time. What? There you go. Yeah. There you go. Okay. There you go. How in the world? How in the world do we do it? How in the world? Oh, wait a second. Okay, wait. Okay, hold on. Well, you really kind of. How in the world have we made it to hour number 1862, or as it's also called, hour 1862. Basil BuddhaCat presents. Hey Ozzy, hang around. Stop and get a bite to eat after the coming up to the table with me. Oh man, I don't know. Hold on. No tie. No red. I'm blurry-eyed too. Welcome to Basil BuddhaCat presents. Can't do it. Exclamation point. It is hour 1862 of our ongoing Basil-Athon, and 1862. So here we are. We're celebrating, or we're continuing our celebration of Cinco de Mayo. We did an hour-long special Wednesday night. We had to go over to the Comcast studio, which involves some, moving stuff around. And there, hold on. If I have this in front of me, can you see me better? Pretend it's like a pharaoh's beard. Okay. So we're continuing our Cinco de Mayo celebration, and what, Basil? Wait a second. He said, play me a jingle or two, and then I'll be ready to join in on the show. Okay, you ready? Whoa, hold on a second. Oh, you just want cats, okay. He's doing this. I know you can't see it because he's not doing this, but this is what he's intimating to me. He's going like this. He's going scratching across his chest and kind of across his chin a little bit. And he's saying this. Well, I better, say it in cat first and then translate. Pushing around. Said, my pussy. Now, I don't know if that's a word that you really want to be using on television, where you've got some adults in the audience, we've got some kids in the audience, we've got Bill Murray up in the hammock, we've got Stephen Colbert, we've got Drew Carey, who we fondly refer to as LFFF. Yeah, that's it. And here you are doing this. My pussy. Okay, Basil said, so, well, he's watching the presidential ball Saturday night, and he has, President Obama gives a great comedy speech, and of course, they know in advance. He knows in advance what Larry Wilmore's itinerary is going to be. They know exactly what Larry Wilmore is going to talk about and exactly what jokes and remarks he's going to make. So he kind of gets a head start on everything Larry Wilmore is going to say, and pretty much blows up the place. They really did a great job, and didn't leave much for Larry Wilmore. But at the end, Larry Wilmore gives his props to President Obama by calling him my nigga. And that's, don't confuse that, because some British dude on CNN, I don't know, I've seen him before, he's not much of interest, but he's on and he's right now he's spelling out with the exclamation points and the stars, and taking letters out and replacing letters with stars, and he uses the word N star 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 ER as if that's the word that Larry Wilmore was using in deference, in reference to President Obama, but it wasn't. He was using the word nigga. Now, nigga is a term that black people came up with as an alternative to the other word. It's a corruption on the racial epithet, the racial slur that white people have been using. I don't know, probably a reference to some part of Africa, maybe Nigeria. I don't know. It's some reference to black people, and it's disrespectful. It's derogatory, and so blacks corrupted the term and used it as a point of reference and reverence rather than deference and being derogatory. It's an equivalent of the term homie. And Pierce Morgan, this is the guy. Pierce Morgan is all bent out of shape because, I don't know, maybe he's all bent out of shape like a lot of white people are, because how come this black guy gets to use that word N star 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 ER? How come he gets to use that word and I don't get to use it? What's that all about? Okay, Basil said, meow, 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 meow. Get to it, meow. Says, your point? Well, yeah, it's and I see that you want to do the my pussy, and I understand because Basil knows that I'm principally of Irish ancestry. And when you're Irish, you can refer to another Irish person as a Mick, as a hooligan. You can use a lot of terms that if somebody else were using against Irish people, it would be derogatory. But Irish people reserve the right to talk to their own people and say these things, and it's acceptable for them to do it. But God forbid that somebody else would use it. So Basil's saying, if anybody else, if some dog was snarky up behind the camera, used the word pussy, or even if Tweety, the sound engineer, used the word pussy, or even if Bill Murray or Drew Carey or Stephen Colbert uses the word pussy in reference to a cat, it's not, that's derogatory, and don't. But a cat reserves the right to use that term because it's cat. Well, it's not mano a mano as we would think about with Cinco de Mayo, but it's pa'o a pa'o. And cats can do that the same way that Irish people can call Irish people, the same way that Italians can call another Italian Goomba or Guinea or Wop or any of the other terms that Catholic people use. And here I am using it, but I'm only using it in point of reference to what's okay between people that are of the same background. Did I say that right? Basil said, meow, 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 meow. Said, can we cut to a commercial? I mean, we got to have some corporate sponsors, and yeah, I think so. I think we lost a lot of them. We had for Cinco de Mayo, we should be getting some beer sponsors. I mean, we worked hard on getting root beer as a sponsor, and we got not A&W root beer, but we got P A&W root beer. And there was some cha-ching involved there. I mean, Basil endorsed P A&W root beer, Paw root beer, and all was well. Until Basil started talking about how, along with Tootsie Roll and Hershey's Kisses and other things, how they were Basil's candy of choice, and he endorsed them. And how do we know that Hershey's Kisses and Tootsie Rolls and P.A.N.W. root beer are Basil's candy and beverage of choice? Well, look at his cat pair. And that didn't go well. I don't know why, but it didn't go well. And are we still talking about the primaries? Basil says, said, meow, 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 meow. So look at how much bigger Hillary Clinton's head is than Bernie Sanders. I mean, she's got to be smarter than him. I mean, she's got a head that's about 5 times the size of Bernie Sanders. And she's, contrary to what, Donald Trump says, she's a good-looking woman, and not that matters, but she's a candidate for president, and she's got a background that's some good, some bad, but she's got some skills, a skill set, and so here we are at Cinco de Mayo. I don't see any beer product. We had Budweiser. Well, we were working on Budweiser. Of course, we were also working on from Abbott Labs. We were working on a hand lotion, and the bottle of hand lotion said on it 25% more. And Basil kept asking, 25% more what? And eventually they got disappointed or dismayed or disgusted with our asking that question, or with Basil asking that question. So he seems to want to keep doing this. He wants to go, my pussy. Yeah, okay, yeah, my pussy. Okay, I got you. It's all right. You can say it. But if you want to talk about politics, let's go ahead. Where we've got a totally non-surprising turn of events on the Republican side when Donald Trump won Indiana and got most of the delegates because the winner of most of the primaries on the Republican side, the winner gets the bulk of the. Some of them are winner take all, but a lot of them the winner takes the bulk of the delegates. So it got to the point where there weren't that many delegates left anyway. There were, something in the vicinity of 1,200 delegates left, and Trump had almost 1,000 delegates, and so he was pretty much entrenched as a candidate. But after Indiana, Ted Cruz is 461 delegates behind. And as it turns out, there's only 445 more delegates out there. So, do the math, it was time. So Cruz, after spending the day defending his father from Donald Trump saying that he killed Kennedy or was somehow there with Lee Harvey Oswald, or was there when he was shot. He was there when he was up in the school book depository. He was part of the Cuban group that was involved in killing Kennedy, and therefore guilt by association. So, needless to say, Ted Cruz is a mass murderer because his father is in a picture with Lee Harvey Oswald. So after a day of Cruz pulling out his hair and screaming and yelling at Trump, the way he did when Trump said to Cruz a couple weeks ago, your wife's not very attractive. I bet you just elbow her in the face periodically. And son of a gun, Indiana happens. Cruz concedes, and is done screaming and yelling at Trump, but then elbows his wife in the face. Not hard, but he kind of bumped her in the face with his elbow when he's going to give his father a hug, and that's it's a Cuban thing. You elbow your wife in the face and you hug your father. It's just part of being a macho Cuban. So there he is. He's got 461 delegates behind. There's 445 left. And John Kasich jumps up and says, I can do it. I'm going to the convention. I can win. Because he's only 800 delegates behind. Or almost 900. So Cruz, he gives in. He says, I'm done. And by the way, Donald Trump is the best thing since sliced bread. He's a good guy. I know he didn't mean all those things he said about my father. I know he didn't mean that National Enquirer cover story that he planted or paid for about my father being there with Lee Harvey Oswald, and I know he didn't mean bad things about my wife. After which he said, "Whoops, dear, sorry." And then he said Trump's a great guy. And, I always thought he was a great guy. He's always the best. It's sort of like the same way Carly Fiorina accepted the vice presidential nod from Ted Cruz. And said he was, a great guy after about 2 weeks before, then say, hey, just like all the rest of those politicians, except worse. And the Republicans will all, kind of wrap themselves around Trump now. I mean, they all hated him, but, that's... it's just fun and games. It's the fun and games of primaries. So, I know you want to talk about the Democratic Party side, because all the media outlets that have been doing a slightly different variation of color for pledge delegates, and then they add on a slightly different shade of blue for the super delegates, so they can stretch Clinton's lead further out. They now they just put the number up there that's a combination, and make a little spot at the bottom and say, oh, by the way, she has 531 super delegates as part of this number. So the number. Okay, the numbers. Okay, here we go. Got the Democratic primaries have 1,114 earned delegates, pledged delegates left out there in 9 states and District of Columbia and Puerto Rico. And Bernie Sanders is, after winning Indiana, has moved back within 290 of Hillary Clinton. So he's got 1,114 delegates left to go after in order to get 290 more than her. And, it's not going to do it. But Basil said, he said, first of all, finish up your commercials. We're treading water here with our speaking of treading water, Star-Kissed chunk light tuna in water. American Heart Association certified. It's got nice. It's got about an ounce of water in a 6-ounce can, so it's about 5 ounces of tuna, packaged in an ounce of water, and tuna's kind of compressed and flaky, so it's probably not too bad. But it says it's got omega-3s, and Basil wants to note that Star-Kissed, we're going to be the only ones out there saying that you have omega-3s when all the other tunas only have omega 2.99. So Star-Kissed clearly the best. Charlie's still on the label of Star-Kissed. Something about tell them Charlie sent you. And Basil, of course, wants to swap that out for Star-Kissed chunk light tuna in water. Tell them Basil sent you. Okay. You're still looking to watch. Basil's still looking to watch. We were watching the other day. He got annoyed because he didn't want to watch progressive soup. He wanted to watch regressive soup because he says that's where all the fun stuff is. He says that's where the entertainment is. It's an offshoot of Fox News and regressive soup. Tip of the hat. And you know what? You mind? Okay. There. Okay. So happy Cinco de Mayo. So we don't have any beer, Basil. We had Budweiser. We were working on Budweiser, and Basil kept telling the story about how when we would take the kids to the, when I would take my kids to the beach in Rhode Island, and we'd reconnect going down Route 9 in Connecticut, down and connect to Route 95, and go past the Budweiser distributorship along Route Interstate 95. And in the yard there was this big plastic or wood or laminated or something pretty much life-size Clydesdale. And Basil keeps reminding the audience, and kept reminding the audience until we were done. Kept reminding the audience how I would tell the kids, "Hey, look at that Clydesdale! Look at that giant Clydesdale over there in the yard of the distributorship. Where do you think the beer comes out of on that thing?" And eventually Budweiser said, we really don't want anybody referring to our product as Well, the closest I can say is pussy. Basil said, said, only I can say my pussy. Only Basil can. He doesn't want anybody else. And again, the reference back to the to Larry Wilmore doing his comedy shtick after President Obama took all the same lines and, in fact, probably did them better. But, so Wilmore did his comedy shtick, and at the end he reached out and he, did the From My Heart to President Obama and referred to him as my nigga. And, a lot of people got upset by that, but that's because it was from one black dude to another. And President Obama smiled and laughed and pointed back at him, and there was no nothing mellifluous involved there. No dispute over. Okay, man, how we're going to make it through hour 1862. We just did our hour live special Wednesday night. And that was on 4 de Mayo, on the eve of Cinco de Mayo. And we did that, and everybody, we talked about a lot of things you could probably find. It'll be up on YouTube. If it isn't already, it'll be there. And we had some call-ins. We had proposed cabinet posts under a Donald Trump administration. And we had call-ins from Trump's 12 cats. Now, we always thought that his cats were, we were under the impression that Trump's cats were all named Whitey. All 12 of them. And it made sense. But then we find out that they have names. 2 of which are Puss and Pussy. But he likes to cover all the bases. He likes to use his cats as a vehicle to reach out and do a little name calling at people that own cats, because he found out that he calls them Hispanics, but those of us that have a little bit more respect for them and like the word Latino better, we call them Latinos. They're Latin origin. Hispanics are specifically of Spanish origin, but Latino is a more broad, more encompassing, and has a nicer sound to it too than Hispanics. He went with that. He's got a cat that he named Spick, and then he's got one. He's likes. Says the Italians all of them too. So he's got a cat named Goomba, and he's got all kinds of Italian names. That we shouldn't do that, should we? No. You know what?
They say they'd rob your grandma blind on Wall Street, fritter her away her Medicare on Wall Street, and Pharma Oil and their pet fox don't care if she lives in a box, so long as they wear platinum jocks on Wall Street, Meow.